fuck. Oh Mann, verpiss dich jetzt.
Fantastico! Perfetto!
is in full swing. For one Wednesday, Hikaru Nakamura will not win the tournament because he's playing in the FIDE Grand Prix, which we're watching right here, right now. But you will not want to miss the action in Arena Kings, happening every Wednesday. It is a fun event featuring many great streamers and content creators. So Arena Kings happening today, this Wednesday, and every Wednesday indeed. So Kenny, back to the FIDE Grand Prix. We mentioned Hikaru Nakamura. Surprise, surprise, everybody in chat. He is playing in this tournament. He is one of the 16 players participating. And he is playing against Andrei Yesipenko. We've tuned into this game several times today already. But let me know where you want to go right now, Kenny.
Why don't we take very, very quick look to the other games like Ronnie and we see what happened here. We have this endgame with knight and c5 pawn on bishop is taken on f4 and pawn on c7 is also under attack. Can we able find an evaluation here in this?
Well, the engine still says 0.1 better for white, so this is but I actually think that's a little bit misleading because this position, to my eyes, doesn't look just completely equal. For example, if you play bishop e6, but you give up your bishop on f4 for this bishop on c4, and once we get down this variation here, after rook c3, c7 is going to fall, d6 can be weak, the knight feels like it's a very good piece against the bishop in this endgame, and yeah, black should be able to hold this, but I don't think it's as straightforward as the eval bar would make it seem.
And bishop e6 now is on the board. We might see this continuation here as white is pretty much bishop on f4, right?
Yes, under bishop e6, we are actually going to see exactly this. Takes and rook c3, and Levon Aronian, he's a brilliant player throughout all stages of the game, but his endgame technique is very, very high class, so I think we'll be able to see Rio Parin fight law for this draw, because it's not going to be that simple.
That's right. So, alright, this is going to the end game already, and slow down a little bit. Why don't we take the bird's eye view back and check out the second game in this group, Nakamura versus Yesipenko.
Wait, Hikaru's playing in this tournament? I didn't know that. I had no idea. It's not like every single person watching this tournament has mentioned if Hikaru is playing. But yes, he is playing. He suffered defeat in his first game against Levon Aronian. And right now with the white piece disketti, like the bishop on d3, like the queen on f3, like the knight on e5. But what next? Because if you're not careful, if you give black some time to coordinate, a knight coming to e4 may not be so nice to deal with. But for now, white really controls the board. Take on e4, and I take back, and you take with the queen, threatening checkmate. I play this move g6, and now there's a problem for white's king on the long diagonal. There's this move f6 that can be played. It's looking messy because knight takes e5 is a huge threat against your queen and against the bishop. That's good for black. Go all in, going for checkmate.
That's what I actually like to do here, some little bit of the inaccuracies you mentioned. You weren't taking too much to play. How about bishop f5 is another natural?
That makes perfect sense. The rook probably will slide up to c7, where just make sure the f7 pawn is defended. And now g4, black may have g6 tempo against his bishop. And I still think in many of these positions, black is going to win knight g4.
There for black. Alright. It looks like pretty. All these pieces are good looking, but white couldn't really move that.
No, because g4 is really key. And pawn pushes, they're there to stay, or pushing forward. g4 is an aggressive move. It looks like a good move, but just to show what happens if you take on e4 with the bishop after all this pawn on d4 is hanging here, and your queen's under it. Even though the knight on c6 may look pale, knight takes d4, attacks more c6 comes to mind. Knight a5. Teddy is another option. Maybe at some point knight c4, knight e4. These knights are just kind of jumping all over the place.
I like knight a5 in this position. I was thinking of knight e7, but knight a5 seems great. It can also jump on b3.
Yeah, I think that Andre, he's sort of defending his king with counterplay. Counterplay is rook e1, likely just taking away the e4 square from the knight, and that might be the most precise move in the position, and now Andre has to come up with a move of his own. Whether that's g6, because the rook left the f file, whether it's rook c7, we talked about this idea before, maybe trying to double the rooks on the e file, but this knight e5 is such a thorn in black's side. It's blocking all of black's play for the moment, so Andre's gonna have to operate around it.
Yeah, that's right. We do have one game already ended in the group B, and this game is kind of usual against Montreal. It's very good.
It's not a funny way to agree on the draw. That in this position, after rook to e3 was played, which is where we left off, rook e7. So Mamajaro found a way to stop the d-pawn from pushing. Bishop c3, rook e7, bishop a5, rook c8, bishop back, and fourth, and we made a draw in this match.
That was very creative player. He wants to make draws in this way, right? He could just no, he can't make it. He can't operate what they have.
And I think that it makes sense because white actually could be in danger of having a worse position. Queen now coming to e6, knight to f4, an idea we were talking about long ago, that all of a sudden black is the one who is pressing forward here, and without the move d4, and you need your bishop on the a1 h8 diagonal to make d4 a good looking move, then black is just pushing forward here against queen e6 and so on. So I don't think that white's in any danger, but I also don't think that white is better. So Daniil said, let me end this game before I potentially get this in trouble.
Yeah, right. So this was the game has ended with 6. We're gonna take the rest of the evening, and for tomorrow's round, let's very quickly take a look at the bird's eye view, and let's see has been changed in the one from Wesley and Wesley. So as they have started for us.
Okay, so I pulled up that game here. Predke with the white pieces taking on Wesley So, and I see some knights on e3 and d4, but I also see 3 pieces for black, 3 heavy pieces down the d file here, and it's actually black's turn. So it looks like there's a free piece, Keddy, but looks can be deceiving.
Ooh, don't want to take this knight on d4 because if you take the knight, white will take a rook. We have to take the with queen f6. It's not very good. Replacement of queen f3.
Fantastico! Perfetto!
Fine.
Queen takes f6 would be the only way to do so. It's not legal, so you're going to lose either an exchange or have to sacrifice your queen. But this type of position, I dropped the queen too very short. This is just a terrible situation for black. It's losing. Sometimes you can do this and say, I can hold a draw. Here, you're going to lose. So this last move was knight e3, Keddy, just giving up this knight on d4. Clearly, these knights are aiming for the f5 square, so I do believe that black needs to be more careful than white does, because if the knight gets to f5, g8, it's not necessarily going to get checkmated, but it has to watch out for some attack. Yes, for sure. I think that for Wesley right now, probably move his queen away, because let's say you're making like a5, just randomly like this, you see the evaluation go up very high, because knight f5, as mentioned, is going to be a problem. There's actually nowhere to go. E6, I play c5, rook, and you're also moving away from the file, the knights defend one another, so this would be a losing situation. I think
Fantastico. Perfetto.
Black is holding on according to the engine. It just looks like it should be good for white. Okay, hold it up here, and B4 was played after the knight came to A5, and that's a big decision by Hikaru because he's inviting this knight into C4, but it looks like his claim is the bishop on B7 is not defended. So after knight C4, if you take on C4 here with, let's just say the bishop, you can't take with the D pawn, which is how you'd like to capture. Instead you take with the D pawn, and white would have given up the wrong diagonal. Here we go, D3 to H7, this diagonal, the attack. But black bishop is not very strong here either. So it's a really big decision by Hikaru to play B4 because it changes the entire nature of the game.
And I'm curious because Ricky 1 was played to avoid knight e4, right? So knight a5 was responded by a pawn. As you know, we don't play knight e4 anymore. I play knight c4, I'm okay. G5, and then sacrifice my bishop on h7, bishop to h5, take h7 pawn.
I think he's so with the knight e4. This move knight e4 is just so frustrating to do because you want to take with the knight, you don't want to give it your bishop, especially as it opens up this diagonal. Takes. And at this point, you can take with the bishop and takes, queen takes. This position, even though white's up a pawn, the king on g1 is less safe suddenly than the king on g8. f6 doesn't actually work, which is a big deal. Let's say you try to get a piece with f6 here. I think now white has this move to pawn to e4. So that's very far down the path here. But e4, this knight has nowhere good to go, and that means that if you go into b3, I think you're probably going to see this knight lost or this knight in e5, and it still is unclear because the engine says only queen 6 better for white.
Before was played pretty fast by Hikaru here. Seems like he's ready for knight c4 move, as we have just seen earlier. Knight d3 seems to be so that's not super sure as choice here. I think don't go with d1 right away because you can fell for the
Yeah, and this knight is not going anywhere, so knight b3 looks like a move that it's gone too far into enemy territory. So knight c4 has to be the move. And I am very curious how Hikaru will respond here because I don't want to give up this bishop on d3, but I also don't want to allow this knight to stay on c4. It attacks a3, it just, this knight e4 move at some point still is an option. So knight d2, by the way, and then knight e4, just to get your knight into the e4 square in this manner. I'm starting to
Fantastico.
feel a little
Perfetto.
comfortable. If not, for bishop takes c4, b takes c4. I think white's king is safe, but black has the bishop there, and I don't know, Andre's fighting here.
Okay, maybe he wants to play knight a4 next time.
Could be. Bring that knight into activity, though that gives this knight the e4 square. But if I can play f6 and kick your knight out of e5, black is there. So that's what Andre will aim for. Just somehow to play this knight to e4 and play pawn to f6, which seems reasonable. Yeah, a couple moves have been played on that board. I can pull that game up right now. It looks like D4 was thrown in by Anish. So after E5, which by Anish is actually a thematic pawn sacrifice, because if you take on d4 and you look at this position, double isolated pawns, isolated h pawn, now an isolated d pawn. It's an extra pawn, but it's also one that's very easy to attack. And if you try to keep your pawn, this knight comes to d4, this knight may come to f5. These knights are very, very strong here, so black has great compensation for its sacrifice pawn.
Yesterday, where Zubov actually has hanging, and he might have isolated even weaker than Zubov's game, and you know how that game ended. Victory, so after the C5,
So he could go knight c6. He could also play d3, which we saw Wesley so do yesterday against Sam Shanklin. Just push that pawn all the way up, attack his bishop. Because after d3, rook takes e5, pawn takes e2. That's a scary pawn. It says slightly better for black. It's probably one and only one way for white to d3 was just played, by the way. Only one way for white to survive this position, because if you let knight c4 happen and rook d1, you're allowing
Fantastico! Perfetto!
That's not good. So after D3,
bishop d1, just to keep this pawn defended. And this knight comes to c4, and that pawn is not going anywhere. It's there to stay.
for a moment, I thought you left me to take my knight and c4 twice, but I see you want to forward.
Yep. It looks like it would be good. And it would be good for white if not for this b5. If I make any other move, white is probably just winning with the two minor pieces. The knight just comes back to c3, and white will bring the king in the center and get this pawn. White will be winning. b5 is the fork at the end of the road here, which just gets black a minor piece, and I would leave black ahead by much.
Is this bishop
Well, according to the evaluation bar, that this is just fine for white. I'm guessing knight c3 is necessary to get the pawn. It still looks like a situation where black will have so much activity, even knight f5, rook to d2, things like this. I look at this position and I actually like black's chances in this endgame, so I would not want to play like this from Tavatabay's perspective. I think Anish suddenly is taking over the game. In fact, this game, if d4 was finally played, we mentioned the rook went to d1 to play d4. He does it, and the queen went to a5, and then the queen went to h5. So the reason why the queen moved from a5 is if you make a move like pawn to h6, just a quiet move, knight d5 is the threat, because the queen on a5 is left undefended, which means you have to do something about it in the trade, and then knight takes e7 is a check, then I take your queen, and you may win your piece back, it will cost you at least one pawn, so that would be a losing turn of events for black. Queen instead went to h5, rook d1, d1, centralization, and okay, these types of pieces are very, very solid for black. So after h3, g6, we see some shuffling of knight d4 and back to f3, because the rook came to c6 to keep d6 defended. It makes perfect sense. And then Vitigov says, let me just go back.
It's so hard to find terrain improvement in this kind of positions, unless one side really tries too hard. And seems like none of the players today, they were not in a mood to risk in this position. So we have 2 draws so far. You said 5 draws today.
I said there'd be 5
And
draws.
sides. Yeah, alright.
Okay, so that endgame in the top left between Levon and Grigori, that we were looking at that type of position. position, so Levon will try to press that endgame, but Grigori is holding the balance. The game between Yesipenko and Nakamura, I'm telling you, you went knight a4 to c5, but now that the black knight's in e4, it's starting to look very good for Andres. Hikaru's in a bit of a tough spot. Shankland, the second from the left in the bottom row there, he's just evil. Maybe he should be even worse in this endgame, because it's a rook for white for a bishop and 2 pawns. I mean, I think that white has a better chances than anybody. And elsewhere, yeah, everything else looks relatively stable.
Fantastico! Perfetto!
So many interesting games.
Fantastico! Perfetto!
Here, rook takes. Whoa! I was just like, oh, rook takes e4, but he plays a rook takes e4, Kenny. He's actually giving up material because while Vincent took with the rook on e4, bishop e4, knight e4, you have to take on h6, otherwise it's 2 pieces for the rook. And then he just wanted to play. This is such high level stuff. He would have played knight g3, or no, knight g5 I think is covered by these too much, but he just plays for the light square. Like this knight can come to f5 or to h5, this knight can join the party, and it says zeros on the evaluation bar, which means that white is doing pretty well, because if you're up material and it still says 0, I'm worried about this game.
Oh wow. Knight f5 can be played next to you, and another knight is perfect. What can you do? Some fancy moves, rook a3, rook b3, to bring this bit on the third, right? Please, and with this everything, white can always have chance and just drop. You can find something better.
And that was rook takes e4 was not at all on my radar. We mentioned bishop g5, bishop f4, knight takes e4, rook takes e4. It wasn't even in. I didn't think it was legal. It was so far away from my thought process. And Dominguez, he has been showing tremendous form, and of course he's one of the best players in the world. But rook takes e4 here. Vincent says, I don't want any problems. I don't want my king to be unsafe. So he took with the rook on e4 instead. And after knight takes d5, this is when Dominguez drops the bishop to g5. Because if you take up e4 thinking you get my queen, I get yours, the problem is the bishop on b6 is hanging at the end. White would actually be up a piece. So d takes e4 was not available after bishop g5 here. The queen goes to e7. And now Dominguez goes knight c5. He does not want to allow pawn takes e4 clearly. So he goes knight c5. And after bishop takes, this queen's under attack. And it seals a pawn. So the bishop hops back to f8 here. But Teddy, white is now a pawn ahead. And it's a kingside pawn here. Pretty clear pawn.
Yeah, it's just missing, and I was just thinking how this started, and it started with 94 pawn counter and then bishop h6. From that moment, we had a lot of White has double pawns on the b file. They are not pretty, let's be honest, but
It's on up. It's going to be a difficult task for Vincent here because, well, what's Black's plan? So, if I were to give Black maybe e8, no, okay, e8 means the a6 pawn. Maybe queen e6, but then what? Queen d6 at some point to attack d4. This bishop can drop to d2. So, I don't quite see how Black is going to continue either, even though White has nothing more to attack just yet. So, knight e5 was completely reasonable. Rook to c1 at some point I would think about, though not until Black has to deal with his a6 pawn being hanging. So White is better. That's clear. I don't quite see how Dominguez should continue, even though you want to be a pawn ahead.
Fantastico! Perfetto!
h4, h5, h6. Use that extra pawn for the h5.
Yeah, you watch out for f6, but you move bishop back to d2. If f6 is not really a move you want to play, and you see the evaluation where it actually creep up, because it creates problems in the white square. So even is even more appealing if f6, and there it goes, if f6 is not a good decision for black.
95 is now on. Looks very passive, but for a moment holds the position, and maybe white can also try to get the knight and queen c5.
No, it's good. Because if, let's make some, I'm trying to find a random, bishop h7, knight d3, we get this position here. Now white's up a clear pawn. It's not going to be easy to win necessarily, because that pawn advantage will only be felt, let's say, if the queens come off in the pure endgame. But if we trade all the pieces, and I will just force that to happen, and I will not take any pawns, I'm just going to trade everything. Please don't get upset, everybody. I know b4 is mean. I just want to trade pieces. Here, here, 6 takes this. That's what I'm aiming for. Now white plays h4, g4, and we'll have an outside pass pawn over here. It's still not sure that's winning because all these pawns are on light squares. Bishop on dark square. But that's what white ideally is aiming for, is to at least trade the queens and then use the pawn to his advantage.
He wants next games to be with 2 results only, so that's quite a good situation for Dominguez. And he also tried to come up with another idea. Is I still believe there can be some sort of like we didn't want to expose more sides. So we're gonna see what Dominguez will come up with.
Okay, well, we still have 6 games remaining. 2 draws are in the books. Hikaru Nakamura against Andrea Zapenko, second from the left in the top row there. Not too much has changed, but the light square pieces are good for black. Looks like Levon, he's down a pawn still. Will he be able to win it back? That's the big question. The biggest evaluation of our lead, Eddie, is the one we're looking at from Dominguez and Timer. The games are pretty level throughout these groups here. According to the current position, the eval here, that black may even be the side slightly for choice. And the last few moves, okay, they're moving quickly now, very quickly. All the moves are coming in, but bishop e6, knight takes f4, bishop c4, rook c3. After b5, Levon could have taken on b5 to take c7, but I'm guessing he figured that in this position, so many trades have happened that it should
Fantastico!
be
Perfetto!
for black to hold here. Maybe it's rook c8, we trade rooks. Maybe just put a rook on d8, go after 2 pawn. But either way, we see the evaluation part. And Levon instead played rook d1. And then Grigori played rook a7. And after b3, this bishop is getting kicked. Bishop e6, a takes b5, and rook b8. And he played move e5. Wow.
Ah, oh, this is too ugly for black, because you know what? If you take the e5 pawn, then white is going to take the bishop itself, and it's going to the center. The rook comes on e5 to guard e5 and also attack e5.
Yeah, white clearly has a more flexible game plan, but I think even here, black is just ready to take this pawn and then go for this one. If you go rook e7, this is the one thing that white hope for. He's going g7 pawn. But after rook g8, black is ahead by a pawn. Pawn b3 is loose. So I don't really think that Levon, despite the sparks by move e5, it doesn't look like he can really win this game. At best, he'll be slightly better, but I think Hikaru has everything covered.
But the e5 here brings for white is at least equal position, because if the things goes wrong, white has double position b file. There's a
d6, pawn takes d6, rook takes d6, and here rook d7, rook takes pawn, rook takes pawn. This is just a very clear draw. So I think that this game is about to end in a draw. Oparin, for the second day in a row, putting up good defense with the black pieces. And Levon, okay, he won game one. He would have loved to get a win against the lowest rated player in the group with the white pieces, but he'll be okay with one half. It's not gonna be
Be very okay, and we also take the part of right after. Let's also jump to that game and check out what is happening. We had 94 final move from Esipenko, and Hikaru goes for queen e2. What's the idea of queen e2?
Well, if you're ever going to take on e4, like you could have done a moment ago, after pawn takes e4, queen is unfortunately under attack. So that gives black time to potentially put bishop on d5, queen on d5, things like that. So with queen coming to e2 here, now knight takes e4 is a threat. So you can make some random like h6, you see the evaluation bar saying that wasn't a very good move. And actually, knight takes e4, pawn takes e4. This pawn is hanging here and white can capture it. So not the end of the world, since this bishop is very strong, but not what black wants, ideally.
That is right, and we have a5 from Esipenko. He goes on the defense side, pawn. Also take b4 pawn to create a weakness there on his part.
It's a great move. It's a really, really good move. And in the event of knight takes e4, these kind of variations, first of all, knight takes c4 will drop this pawn on f4 in many cases, and the white king is less safe than the black king. So I think that Esipenko, he's going for this active play, opening up the position for his bishops, because he's got the bishop pair, and that means the open diagonals will help him out in such a dynamic. So Hikaru, I think he has a tougher position to play. I could see a variation, Keddy, where knight f5, knight c5, excuse me, exchange sacrifice over here, where this pawn is hanging on b5. I want to push d4 and open up my bishop on a8. This pawn a3 is hanging. I'm sacrificing piece for that pawn because I can. I think the points of the whole that white has a lot to figure out. Okay, so that game finished as a draw. The last few moves, well, we saw it takes a8, takes g4. What a move by Shanklin. Rook d8, and he gets two pawns, the bishop for the rook, and the rooks came off very quickly right around here with h8. And after this trade, the knight on e6 and the rook on h7 had to team up to have any chance to win. So that's what Maxime wanted. But after rook h7, king c8, if you go knight e6, then black can play bishop d7, kicking the knight out, and you can go back and forth. So instead, in this game here, they played check and just agreed to a draw of rook h7, rook h8, king d7, king c8.
Fantastico! Perfetto!
No chance to attack f6 from here, like knight h5, right?
Say knight king h5, you go for the pawn, you can go to f5. I guess Maxime figured even if he wins the pawn, it should still be a draw, but it's actually not that easy to win the pawn anyway if the bishop joins in the defense. So, yeah, the winning chances are very slim, only if you can get to the c7 pawn, which Sam was not going to allow. So, the game concluded with that the rook h7 and rook h8, which is the draw.
Right, so we do have a third draw over here, and other games are still in progress, but
Fantastico! Fantastico! Perfetto! Fantastico! Perfetto!
The bird's eye view, and Robert, do you think any complications here can happen to any of the sides?
Definitely not in the Levon game against Bruggery, so that game should be a draw. I think Dominguez, he has a very good chance to win. Esipenko and Hikaru, I mean, either side could get this game. I do like Andre's position right now. Predke, I still am a fan of his position with his control of the open files, but the eval bar is not so impressed. And then Anish and Tava to buy in the bottom right-hand side of the screen. That looks like, with proper play, it should still be a hold, and many level games today.
It is. Robert, it's our time to take a break right now, and we are hoping to come back. But before the third game ends in a draw, we promise to come back before that, you guys. So don't go anywhere. We'll be back in a few minutes.
Christopher Yu's puzzle score that he threw up in a fraction round. Let's bring that up. Look at that. Just throw it down. Put up a casual 47.
Chill, I just got out of bed. Sips water, 47. I have no idea what is about to happen. You know how to represent
Second
seconds here.
strike. Oh no! Christopher goes out with
Chris
two
is out.
strikes. Oh wait, but he got two!
seconds.
Oh
This
no,
is
why
down
are
to the wire
dropping like
chat.
this? Oh, he gets
it's
53, but he
over.
misses it.
Oh my
Wesley
goodness.
strikes out.
He's out of there.
Christopher Yu
there.
moves on.
Wow, Christopher,
Oh
what
my
a do.
gosh, bro.
Hard place.
Fantastico.
This
Perfetto.
is the best mutual run we've had all day. 53 and 52. 2 people at 53.
What on earth are they doing?
Oh
They're running up
my
the check.
gosh.
Hikaru's got 52.
Oh my goodness.
Unbelievable.
Oh my god.
With more time.
And he's got
gonna beat him.
53.
He's got 53.
He's gonna beat him.
He beats
He's gonna beat him. Andrew has 52. Look, Andrew has 52. Oh my god, Andrew has 52.
Oh my goodness. 53,
Oh my God.
52. Jeffrey
Where did
could
he take
lose.
it?
He got it.
73.
He
He got it. He got it. The last one.
The last run.
73.
This is insane.
What?
Oh my Lance, there's
Man.
20 seconds left. Can he get to 52 or 53?
Green.
Gets to
My
51.
goodness.
Oh my
All
goodness,
green.
he's gonna go 54.
Big Ray.
Oh
and
my
have
god,
a
he's
nice
gonna
day.
get 55.
Oh
Oh,
my
he
game.
almost made 55. It's
Ugh.
a 10 point.
54.
Not a single strike.
Jimmy says 51 as well. What a great way to end a fantastic Puzzle Battle World Championship. Just look at this, 53-52.
That's how you end it.
Ray Robson is, for the third time around, the Puzzle Battle World Champion.
Welcome back, everyone. This is Speed Grand Prix 2022, the final stage. I'm Kenny, this is Robert, and we do have still a lot of games in the progress, Robert. And let's very quickly take a look at the bird's eye view and check out which is the game we want to jump right now.
Okay, still 5 games going, and some of them further along than others. Some really interesting moments in these games. I think the one between Hikaru Nakamura and Andrei Yasipenko, it has the most pieces on the board, and there's a lot of tension in the center, so that one we'll have to keep our eye on. And of course, the game between Dominguez in the top right and Vincent Timer, he's up a pawn. The name's up a pawn, so Lenier has very good chances.
That is right, and the game of Tabatabaya and Anishkir, we do have here a bit of chain constructed. Now Black has the majority on the queen side, and White has double pawns on the king side. Let's very quickly go to this game and check out what's the chances for these two players.
Okay, so this all happened at this moment. D3, rook takes e5, take on e2, the knight came to c3, and then the knight came to c4. So Amin goes back with rook to e4 to attack the knight. He wanted to force this line here, that the knight would take the pawn, and then the knight would take the other pawn. So this all happens, and now Anish plays b5. So honestly, I look at this, Keddy, I like the extra pawn on the outside of the board for black. I think that Anish has all of the winning chances in this position. Unless White can play rook c7, rook e7, and double on the 7th rank over here, it looks like black with the next move knight to c4 should be the side for choice, because it's 1 pawn against 2, so easier to create a pass pawn, and White's extra pawn is doubled, so it's not that simple for White to create a pass pawn of his own.
It's right here after rook e7, what White Black can do is either to trade the rooks on d1, and this will get the very situation for Black, as now second rook cannot get on this 7th rank, or another option what Black has here is knight c4 to cut the file for the rook, so White will struggle to get second rook on the 7th rank.
Yeah, and here with rook to c1 blocked off, White
Fantastico,
can play the rook
perfetto.
a4, just try to trade the pawns, and then his knight will come to d4. So I don't really think that Amin is in too much danger here, because he's just trying to trade off these pawns and bring the knight to a nice centralized square. It looks like it should be level, and we'll see how Anish reacts to rook e7, rook d1 check. It's possible to play like this, but it's a bit awkward because the knight on d1, it's sort of out of play for the moment at least, and White can play rook c7 or somewhere here, bring this knight to there to d4, and it seems like White should be very stable.
Right, there is also another move, rook to d2 for Black to keep the knight, and if you move this knight away like knight d4, then Black can play rook at
Well, I'm just not going to take your rook. You're going to take on f2, and I'm going to throw my rook down on c7.
Fantastico.
I'm just going
Perfect.
to use my 2 rooks on the 7. You only have 1 rook on the second rank here. You need that second rook to come into the game, somehow land on d2. Not happening, of course, and then white is just going to deliver the checks and win material along the 7th rank.
That's really scary trend here to get this second move on the 7th rank. So Yuri has to make a move here to go against it. And yeah, there's rook d1, one opportunity to trade rooks, another is knight c4. Anything else? Maybe rook c8.
Yeah, rook c8 looks pretty reasonable, and if you don't trade, then these rooks start coming down to the second rank over here. But if you do trade, after it takes rook a7, you probably have to play rook c6. Here comes the knight to d4 with a tempo, and if you play rook b6, this type of situation, I mean, if black can get the pawns going or get knight c4 in to get this pawn, then all of a sudden black is better. But moves like rook c7 are very nice, because if you try to win this pawn, I have a4 to undermine the defense of your knight here. So I do think that this game still remains in the balance. It should still be a hold, but black is definitely the side that can try to play for a win, even though objectively it's equal.
Yeah, it was a nicely spotted by Anish to put e5 and then d4. Those 2 moves were the most critical here in this position and in this game. And seems like now this is really safely here for white. Seen all these variations. And what is happening into the endgame of Aronian and Oparin? Let's once again take a look at that position, as seems like they both want to still keep it go and not end the game in a draw yet.
Yeah, but I see zeros. It looks like zeros. It's very equal ending here. Neither side can make progress because this pawn on b3 requires both of these rooks' attention. If you want the e4 pawn, you're going to have to give up the b3 one. I like to suggest moves and ways to keep the games going, but right here it just feels like it's completely level. And even if, let's say rook takes h5, and I'm going to just, I don't know how I can even do this, but I was going to try to give away the a pawn as well. So like, and you can't take me on a3, even if the king were here. This is still a drawn position. So 1 pawn on 2, and it's a pretty straightforward draw for black. I don't think there's any danger for Hikaru, and Levon, there similarly is no danger. The game is just
They deserved not to lose, right? I've seen beautiful maneuvering by Aronian with rook on the 3rd rank. Also beautiful move of knight d5 found by Oparin. So they totally, both of them played really, really nicely today. Alright, we do have a little bit of changes in the game of Hikaru Nakamura and Andrei Esipenko. Let's very quickly take a look. Right now, Hikaru just captured the knight on e4, and Esipenko took it back with a d5 pawn.
okay. So that was a big turn of events just now. Right there, knight takes an e4. Finally, the knight tension has been removed. Pawn takes, and knight takes c4 here. So for Yesipenko, who's down a pawn at the moment, he can take on b4, he can take on f4, and he doesn't have to take either. He can make this move queen d5, which also looks pretty annoying with, e3 is a big threat. I mean, look at this. If queen a5, trying to trade queens, down goes that eval bar, because e3 is a brilliant shot, threatening checkmate in 1. If you take the queen on d5, I take on f2 with check, and then take the queen back, black is up a piece, and we'll be winning. And if you say, all right, I'll just take this pawn on e3, attack your queen again, protect, and offer that queen trade, there's rook takes e3, removing the guard of the checkmate down on g2, and you say, I'll trade queens, because if you take my queen, I take your rook, extra material for white. Don't forget about rook takes e1 with check, followed by bishop takes queen, an extra piece for black. So I really like the look of queen d5 in the initial position, and he plays queen e6 instead, but queen d5 had the threat of e3, but he chooses queen e6.
I love that move, Queen D5. And the way how you imitated me to say that move. But you know what? E3 was actually a real threat here, even without playing knight a5, because your knight cannot take on e3, as the queen on a2 is hanging, and then you're gonna have a checkmate. But oh whoa, there's bishop e3 coming, and the queen from a2 also guards the g2 pawn. So
Yeah. I guess the queen on d5 can be kicked at some point with an eventual knight e3, so queen e2, then knight e3, things like that. But queen e6, it takes advantage of the pin on the knight. It also opens up a second attacker on b4, so even if white plays rook b1, you're still losing that pawn very directly, and if you're not careful, in comes the bishop to d5, and that pin is going to be a problem. So black's position is clearly better.
it's getting slower and slower and better. Queen e2 has been played now to get avoid this pin. I believe bishop d5 was a serious threat there to pin the knight, and then white could have really hard time to unpin the knight. So queen e2, here we have it. And do you think bishop b4 will be next move of black?
I'm not sure. Bishop takes b4 or rook takes b4, because both are possible here. Both look pretty good. Taking with the rook does make sense because it puts pressure on the knight, and you can double on the open file. So I guess a slight preference for rook takes b4, but bishop takes b4 does hit this rook here, and that rook will have to move somewhere like d or f1, which is not that appealing. So you could choose. They both look good, but probably rook takes b4 is more up my alley.
Yep. I can see that Aronian has ended the game against Operin, and they made a draw in the end game. So this is our fourth draw, and yeah, this game was really beautiful, Robert.
Yeah, the draw has been agreed in that game, and it was exactly how we thought it would go. The rook came to c4. You can win the e4 pawn. You're going to lose b3. We talked about this. The pawns are getting traded. There's nothing left. No life. So Aronian, he moves to 1/2 out of 2. Oparin, 2 games to black, 2 draws, which means in the final stretch of this Grand Prix leg, he gets 3 whites and only 1 black. So he will have a chance to strike with the first move advantage. Don't count Grigori Oparin out.
That is really good news. And here we do have main focus on the players who has a chance to qualify to the candidate tournament. But let's not forget that there is a lot of things on the table, as we do have 150,000 euro prize fund. Let's very quickly bring up the prizes on the board, and the winner will get 24,000, runner-up will get 18,000, and
Fantastico, perfetto.
score here, you can get extra 2,000 euros, which is not so bad.
Yeah, and if we're being honest, all these players at the top, they care way more about what happens after this tournament, making the candidates. But the prize fund, winning 24,000 euros is not bad at all. But it's going to be much more than that once they make their way to the candidates, and that's the winner of this Grand Prix leg. Very likely will be the second qualifier for the candidates, along with Report, who isn't guaranteed, but is pretty guaranteed to make the candidates.
Yes, and here we have once again the report, and we can check it out that Richard has been played already 2 Grand Prix out of 3, and he has collected 20 points. And right now, he is at home watching the games and trying to support the ones that they are not his opponent, obviously. Hikaru Nakamura has very good chance.
Hello Blue, hello Xiv.
And Draken is out.
Yes, you need cookie clicker runs. So yeah, as you can see, I started by saving like 2 minutes because I sold all my alchemies before buying the portal. Obviously I'm then losing time, but at the end of the day I backed up all my alchemies basically and all my shipments, and now I'm back on track. So I'm literally saving 44 seconds for free, and I did that in the run.
Alright, which is the game
improvisation. Look at that. Beautiful.
Follow me. Well, we did see Yasipenko take with a rook on b4.
So this is gonna be world
We
record.
haven't been in that one for a while. Not too much has changed exactly, but White has reorganized his pieces.
Because I was like, wait a second. Okay, my program only calculates one cell at a time.
Fantastic.
But why didn't I try to sell more then? And so I tried.
That's the first thing I was looking at, because the last few moves were 95, rookie 1.
So yeah, probably we can improve it a lot more, the route. I should also apply the algorithm that I did for 1 million to the hardcore. I lost 0.1, GG runs over. But yeah, the route is improvable, definitely. You can definitely sell more. I just have to, you know, trial and error, do it on the spreadsheet. But I'm so happy that this was not a mistake. Like, what? I'm saving a minute? That must be a mistake. No, there's no mistake. It's all true. It works. The calculations are correct. Yeah, because the portal is OP. So, yeah, just sell everything and buy the portal, because that's faster than everything else. And also in this version you get, you know, half back, while in the newest version you only get a quarter back.
Although, you know, it's 2 extra pawns for White, but it's kind of like 1 extra pawn.
You also want to mine here.
It's a position where Black is going to try to hold and
alchemy shipment factory room.
Like F3, King F2, Bishop C3, Pawn G4, and so on, and Black
Portal.
will put up defense there. It's just going to be a
I'm losing fake time like the last time because
not fun to play
you know, this is a long split. I have to click stuff, but it doesn't really matter. I'm gonna gain the time back here. Should sell everything in the haven to buy portals. Yes. Portals fucking OP. So like, I didn't try, but maybe selling more shipments as well. No, I tried more shipments. 2 is the optimal quantity there, but maybe if you sell them before, I'm gonna try later that things.
Already, where to put this bishop? Do you take on e5 and then take the queens on the board? That looks a little.
Also, I clicked a lot faster in the beginning, so I was saving like 20 seconds comparing to the last run that I did. I don't know, I felt like, okay, I'm gonna click now. I'm gonna build up my muscles. And yeah, just did a run. Didn't plan to finish at all. I would just training my muscles. Alchemy, shipment, everything. No, except for the cursor.
Yeah, the thing though is, you're not gonna get to the end game. So it is opposite color. Bishops definitely chances for Black, but with the queens on the board.
Not clicking like ZC. I'm not. I hope not. I really hope not. I'm not gonna click anymore here. I'm too scared and it's pointless at this. I have 10 Pokemon. I'm literally making a million cookies and nothing. Well, not a million, but.
And if those pawns do start marching up the board, then the Black King will be in danger.
Clicking now to the end of the run will save less than half a second. So yeah. The clicking part is done. I clicked 24,000 times. That's a lot. I just never stopped clicking. I challenged the golden cookies.
No, I would hate to have this position for black because white's up 1 pawn, but we do this thing right where we cut the board in half. This is 1 pawn, and it's almost like white is
Sub
up 2
212
pawns.
height.
And thank you to our producer for doing
Probably.
this for us, cutting the board
Definitely.
in half with that line right there. When you cut the board in half, white has 4 pawns on 2, so white's up 2 pawns on the king side of the board from the E to the H file, and then black is up 1 pawn in the center. This D5 pawn is isolated, it's not really going anywhere, so that actually can be quite dangerous for black in these positions. So I would be unhappy to have this position from black with the queens on the board.
I love this. I love this to explain because now you clearly see that white has an extra pawn on the king side by dividing the board in
Yeah.
F3 is on the board, and Vincent has only 8 minutes.
Halfway in, but now the run really slows down.
Passive end game and hold a draw in the opposite.
Nice golden
Or to bring the
cookie.
bishop somewhere else and allow white to make this discovery threats on the scene.
The time has been made. Now it's just about clicking on the purchases
Such a consequential moment here.
as
So
quick
bishop
as you
takes
can
E5, you can't
and not
take back
buy
this
the wrong
decision,
thing.
opposite color bishops, but
And the time's gonna
talking about
pretty
this,
much
so
stay
black
the
still has a lot
same
to prove,
for the rest
and if
of
you
the
just
run.
bring the bishop back to F5, I would say knight C4 just because it attacks the queen and makes the queen decide where to go, but this, you don't really want to trade here. So like, let's say the queen, oh, I have a ton of the queen. I have no queen. That would be bad. But if we get this situation right here, yeah, white's better, still up a pawn, but it's not the same because now it's a 3-on-2 rather than
Yeah,
a
the
4-on-2,
old route
and
that
it
was on the
seems like
spreadsheet was
black
so
should be able to stay
outdated that I beat it with the program.
One little pawn.
But the program is not optimized at all. It's just a bait. You can do much better than that. Just with the routing itself.
But
Not
yeah,
even
after-
selling.
After bishop moves away, white is not really forced to play knight move, right?
That's
So
true.
still a6 pawn is hanging. It's on the board. Another thing what white can do is
Fantastico,
bishop C3 for a moment.
perfetto.
It's like a weird move that cuts the queen in the edge of the board, but it also not allows black's rook to get activated on the second rank. I really like this move.
Yeah, it closes that rook down, and as you're saying, white can.
I mean,
Really
yeah.
interesting moment.
There's
It'll be very
really
instructive to see how the
not
players
much you can do.
play
Like
from here because
1 million
it's
cookies time, I got
spending a
3
lot of time,
seconds
and
from
we'll see
the
what move he makes and when he
theoretical
makes it, and we do have
time.
another result
That's
in the post,
uh,
by the way. It is our
that's a
fifth
flex. I
draw
mean,
of the round.
that program is really
Wesley, so
complicated. It
they
has
have
a
drawn
lot of
their
stuff
game,
going
and
on.
we haven't checked in that game for a while, but it looks like pieces were traded off, and thus.
But yeah, I did things on the 1 million that I did not do in the others, which it actually improved the route by a good amount. So I should do that in the others. Maybe that's if I keep programming, that's what I'm gonna do basically.
Yeah, I mean, the 9 of 5 is
Improve
such a good piece.
the
As the
programs,
queen comes to
knowing
D7,
that they're not gonna be perfect.
have an eye on
Just-
this knight, and there's nowhere
yeah.
to go from here. That's the problem. Is let's say I play queen d7, where to next? I would like to get an attack with this knight, but the knight really can't go anywhere that used to.
The other version is
Before, it
difficult.
looks like
You also
black
have
can-
different
their knight to
formulas,
F4 just
like for the
follows suit,
CPS,
and it's hard
because
to
the
see
effects
where
are
the knight
actually
really
different.
cause black problems here. And if the queens
Like
get
the
traded,
super
black
grandmas are
outside has
different.
pawns,
They
which is
also
useful. It
have
takes the king on h2 a long time
Yeah.
to chase it down.
It's a lot of
whereas the
things
king
that
on
are
g8 is
different.
much closer to the c5.
Yeah, I agree with that. But how about queen b6 move, which
Fantastico, perfetto.
next, and white pawn, white c pawn is a little bit farther pushed than a6 pawn.
It's true. Now, if anyone could press in the immediate position, it does look like
That
Frankie,
portal.
but he probably was saying it looks like
To
Wesley
your
has
timer,
control
specialize in
after
timing.
a trade on d1 and
I mean,
king
yeah,
perhaps there's also another move that doesn't
the
give up
time
the
is gonna be
c5
different
like knight
because
d7.
it's not just the
Eight
values
square,
that are different. There's also
there
the
were
effects
plenty
of the
alternatives
things.
that make this
So
position,
you
even though
gotta
the
change.
zeros,
Like
make
if
it
the version
easiest
is that
possible
one, is
for
this
black.
formula.
All the moves
Otherwise, that formula. It's stuff like that. I mean, it's totally doable. Just maybe a bit annoying.
I remember yesterday we were talking about this draws at the position where things are heating up, and I was thinking that could never happen in the women's tournament. And we're very often criticized of not playing as strong as men, but what you don't see in the women Grand Prix, for instance, is 5 draws at this point, and very likely we might have more draws happening today. Let's very quickly bring up.
So, yeah, I'm not gonna try now
Okay, so let's
because
see what's happening here. So 5 draws in the books.
I
3
might
games
forget to buy
still
stuff.
remaining,
I don't
and
want to kill the run.
Hikaru will have a tough task ahead of him. It's really an interesting position. So we'll go to that game, but first we'll take the quickest of breaks, and then when we come back, we will dive into the game between Yesepenko and Nakamura. I know you will not want to miss that.
Fantastico! Perfetto!
It's a bit of a shame because I just uploaded the other video. It took 2 days because I had to do the process 2 times to remove the copyrighted music, and now it's obsolete, but I'll take that. I'll take a record. Fantastico, perfetto, hai completato questo livello. That's what Merlin says.
Fantastico! Perfetto!
You can't find it here because we do the auto glitch. Anyway. I have not splitted. Rip splits. Basically, I rebinded the space bar to the right click, so I can now split with my right click. Pretty convenient here because when I buy a thing, I just click with both the buttons and it will split. Simple. Hello. Getting world record today because I was basically just training my muscles. So I was doing a half run, and then half the run I basically started messing around with the sheet, and I found a 1 minute 10 seconds time save by selling stuff. So this is actually gonna be a record. If I don't click the golden cookies and if I don't buy something wrong. Now you only want an alchemy for some reason.
Fantastico! Perfetto!
And now I want to make sure to have 16, 12, 13, 16, 15, 21, 18 and 20. Perfect. And now you want a time machine. Holy fuck, okay. We are on the long part of the run. Oh, really?
Well, Andre for sure has the better side of this position. It is a queen, a rook, 2 minor pieces, and
I wanna kinda improve all my times at this point, because my times are pretty outdated. 7 years ago, the first times. Then 1 year ago, and then yesterday, today. My older times have 7 years. And those were actually world records 7 years ago for like a couple days. Now it's 85th place. Never click golden cookies. Holy shit. Yeah, things have changed.
But I feel like in all likelihood he's just gonna be able to hold because he's already offering to trade the rooks here, and black needs to keep material on the board. If we trade everything away like this,
so yeah, definitely still want to do the no golden cookies fast click, even if I have a terrible mouse. Maybe we can redo the race if you find a consistent way without destroying your fingers. It's a chess tournament.
Black will maintain his edge in many of the positions.
Just background noises. And the heaven. Oh wait, I mean, yeah. I was sorry. I was not talking about hardcore. I was talking about heavenly, no golden cookie fast click. That I want to do. If you want to redo the race, blah blah blah. Yeah, it's nice to have something in the background, especially when you play Cookie Clicker.
I was saying at first that it should just be a draw, very likely, but now that I look at it a little bit more,
I also did a cave skip and a gate skip because I wanted, because like yesterday when I was watching you, I was like, wait a second, how do you do the cave skip again? And so I was like, okay, let me try one so that I don't completely forget. The race, but now it's fair because you solve your problems. I mean, yeah, fair race, but like on a world record pace, because otherwise no point. Sub 250, that would be the goal. But the problem is that, oh man, like, oh man, look at that. This one says, no, sorry, not that. This one. On 200 CPS, it says you can beat the game in 5 minutes. That's 140. On 140 CPS, you can beat the game in 5 minutes. But the record is 6 minutes 10, and I tried it and I got a 745. There's something a bit wrong about that, or it's just the speed of your mouse CPS is just not applicable on Cookie Clicker, not that much.
Yeah, actually, Bleed gives black prep some more options here. For instance, the queen can even after the next.
Yeah, try that maybe for like find the optimized way of scrolling your wheel.
By Andre here, he wants to give up this pawn. That pawn efficient is so strong. If you lose G2,
Hey, golden cookie. No.
So I think that Queen A3 was the accurate move. It's very tempting to go towards the center, but actually going away from it was better, and it also
Who's there?
Keddy. So after Queen to B8, this king could even go to H7.
It's you. Nice messy desktop. 10 out of 10.
Open up the side for the king. They will back for the
Mm-mm-mm.
Hikaru has 13 minutes on the clock, and they have to make 3 more moves, so it's not really like they have 10 trouble in this position.
Undertale, I know that.
Just get to move 40. It's White's turn. You can play Queen to B5 and then Queen to 8.
Do you use Microsoft Edge? No, use Chrome. Okay. I was worried for a second.
It's kind of looking not quite like a pure fortress where there's no hope, but very, very solid here. All the pieces.
Well, my desktop is pretty clean, I guess.
Let's leave this game for a while and take a look at the bird's eye view and check out what is happening in the other games. Tabatabai and Anishkur, they're putting more and more.
But even if I have something on the desktop, I usually go here and search. So muscle memory.
Looks like it's just going to be a draw. Pieces are coming off the board. We last left up to rook e7, knight c4, and pawn a4, trying to trade pawns, and black can't take because it's lose. And then after king f8, so the knight, so that would be kind of nice because the knight coming to d2 attacks this pawn and threatens b takes a4, pawn to b4. Take, check, knight, back.
So yeah, this weekend at some point I want to do another cookie clicker run. Can be a race if you want. And I want to do a Bugs Bunny run. It can be a race if Simple wants. That's the plans for the weekend.
We might see 8 draws. I think Dimitri
Yeah.
has the best chances to win out of any player. But
You can choose Hando or any. I will have to learn any in that case. Oh, next one is fine, yeah.
None of the sides, so it can be a draw very soon. Let's once again bring up the first time view and check the
Oh, you're in Germany, okay.
Alright, we do have now
Next weekend then. No problem.
We might see some go for jump.
Dude, this is only halfway through the fucking time machine. Should I sell something before that?
Hikaru brought his queen up. Second left, he's gonna play against Chimer. That one's changed a bit because it's now opposite colored bishops. And for
Let's try.
forever, his pawn is not an e5, which we saw in a
Where's the... That's the wrong spreadsheet.
onto advantage here on the king side. The threat immediately is bishop takes h3, so I think linear can safely play pawn g4.
Time. Where's the time?
For things like this, but
Where's the time? Oh, here.
It's going to be a very long story, and he's going to play this on for a long time. I actually think that this game will go on for
On audition.
I remember my longest
Piano audition. Cool. Simple also plays piano. Hey. Should check out his channel. If I sell a portal, okay, let's start for the fact that this is minus 72. Oh shit. Oh shit. Oh shit. Okay, I need more space in here.
very accustomed to playing grueling games against one another, but for Chimer in particular, yesterday white pieces, it was a slight edge from at some point, but really the game was even throughout. Mamajar didn't have trouble. Vincent allowed to prove that this position is that easy. So let's say you move the bishop back right now, bishop e6, and white plays bishop c3. The plan for white is just to make progress with all of your pieces. Like, black is kind of stuck in place here, and the king can come to g3.
Okay, so we want to sell
And the move bishop d7 was actually played by Vincent.
two
so
portals.
That way he might have a rook e8 trying to trade off the rook. So I actually like that. And if I am,
And we want to sell
more pieces on the board because bishop c3, rook e8.
one alchemy
Here, it just seems where the extra pawn
and we want to sell...
making his presence felt. Yeah, if you ever do push all your
I guess those doesn't matter. Now, we're gonna get those back, of course.
Yes, no, that should make black's life easier.
And there we go. That's our new route.
One way to do that is by playing queen e7, just to attack this bishop, ask it where it's going.
So
You move the bishop somewhere, I actually don't even know where it can go. Bishop c6, for example. Maybe
I need to know when to sell.
going to the c file. With
It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Minus 4, 6, 5, 2, 3, 9. Minus 6, 7, 8, 0, 8, 8, 2. Minus 7, 7, 9, 8, 0, 14. So at 108 millions, I'm gonna sell 2 portals and an alchemy and buy the time machine.
I guess white can perhaps take this pawn on d5, because queen c2 would be almost winning for black if not for this check on e4, or actually even easier is a checkmate in 2. But I was looking at the way to trade queens would be on endgame, but rook e8 check is a mate because of this over here. But checkmate is better.
Well, we have queen f4 on the board, so he's not really and something else after.
And then after the time machine,
Yeah, he might be trying to go for this, but still, queen d3,
time P2 portals, P2 alchemy,
is exposed, and if you trade rooks, this is
P mine, P5.
in a situation like this, and after queen e6, this is where it becomes
Okay.
interesting because
Cookie.
white is obviously better here, and it could even be winning.
So that will save another 10 seconds,
Will come to
hopefully.
E5, you start pushing your pawn this way and you create a pass pawn. It's one of these situations that it's hovering between a draw barely for black or just a win
Just
for
like that.
white here because you just start
Easy.
pawn forward,
And then since I
create a pass
got
pawn,
over here,
a win when all is said and done.
should probably try to do something better,
Fine line.
but not now.
My opponent thinks it's so dead. He can sit back and wait for me.
No, 10 second with selling those is gonna be 10 second extra. The minute I already saved.
Playing very passive and badly even equal position. Rook e8 has been played.
Okay, 108 million. 2 portal and 1 alchemy.
20 seconds.
Does move 34.
They have to make 6 more moves.
Right.
Do
And
you think this is a time pressure in this position or it's not?
so to answer that question, I think the best way to answer it is with this example that we're just looking at.
2
Here,
more
we only have
millions.
a few minutes left.
Let's say
And
108.2
rook e8 was just played
or
I
something.
don't know for sure if queen e6 is a good move. And if you make that move with 2 minutes remaining on your clock and it's just a losing move, you're going to make the time control, you have the increment, and then Domingos will just play the endgame perfectly because he's landing Dominguez and then win from there. So this is where having 15 minutes instead of 5 minutes is a big deal.
There you have it.
Your 15 minutes, you can really
I
start
couldn't
calculating
split, but
20 moves
okay.
down the line is like how you envision the future of the board. That's really what it's about. Because we already see the engine is starting to favor white at this point. I still think it's within drawing territory.
Now, can we sell more before the second time machine?
Could be bad, very bad for black.
Like another portal, maybe? No, that's losing time. Can I buy a portal instead? And not buying it here.
You can also play queen b8 here too.
Yes, I need to buy a portal.
6 or queen c6 and
Should I buy 2 portals? No, just 1. Should I buy an alchemy? And not buy it here? That
I
doesn't
think queen e5
mean anything. Should I buy a portal, not buy it here? Yes, I need to buy another portal.
Queen e6 is not the only move, of course. You mentioned queen c6, bishop c6 also comes to mind. But this bishop is just so passive. Not that the bishop on d2 is that great, but that bishop on c6 is obviously not a very impressive piece. And you know, black will have to figure out how to continue from here. And the white king will always have shelter on g3. You want to put the bishop on c3, so you can try slowly to make progress, even though black is holding. And the move h4 was played by Dominguez. Hard to complain about that.
just the waiting move here. Just really in the position on the king side is also waiting and maybe he doesn't want to trade the queens yet.
No.
There you go.
Avoid the queen trades and maybe even get an attack with pawn coming to h6 to pry open the dark squares in front of
So after that, I only need to buy the 2 alchemy and 1 portal.
Back to c1. You're not even winning a pawn here. Everything is defended for now from white's point of view. So
Why am I doing this in the middle of the fucking run?
have been won or lost on around move 38 in situations like these.
Now, can I buy it before the 95? No, that's not convenient. Can I buy this before?
Yeah,
No.
it would be just a
Okay,
easy hold
that's-
for black after a few moves, and not too much going on right now. But what else is happening in?
That seems to be it.
We have 2 other games remaining, and it looks like Tabatabai is just trading everything. in the
Okay,
bottom
so I
right
buy
hand
2
side.
time machine and then a portal, 2 alchemies, the mine, the farm,
Slightly
Another alchemy? No. Another portal? No. Okay, let's go. Let's do it.
I think part of it is you wanted to avoid black from playing F5 and to protect this pawn. So F5 opens up the bishop, as you're saying. Bishop E7, G3, Bishop F6, going after his D4 pawn. Queen to A2 at some point will threaten Bishop takes D4 because the bishop went through the overloaded. So I still really like the look of this position for black. This F5 pawn, you want to target it, but you can't move your queen to say C8 without dropping your bishop on D5. So it's going to take a bit of time for Yespenko to be able to go after that pawn on F5, but it does stick out. You're right.
Dunking it. Yes. Now I have all the pointless achievements.
Yes, if the queens get traded, you mean? So, let's see.
I could call myself or tail. No, wait. How was that?
Not clear how exactly you'll win it because white can reinforce the G4 and then...
Wasn't there an achievement for calling or tail?
Let's not let the knight get free. How do we do that? Okay.
Oh, God complex. There you go.
This way.
Yeah, shadow, I know.
But still, the knight will come to C3 and...
These are feats that are either unfair or difficult to attain. They do not give milk.
I don't think that black's going to be able to get
Fair.
without the queens on the board. So it's clear that black is going to try to play the queen A2, things of that nature, king to H7 just to avoid any checks. But winning this position is going to take a number of moves and probably take a misstep or two from Hikaru.
You know what is really strange, Robert? We have here few minutes on the clock for these players, but the position, all of these games, all three games are so solid. You can really think that something can happen. Even for instance, Dominguez is having just one.
Yeah, not much else to do now.
No, the position is just so simplified, where essentially you watch endgames. Hikaru and Yespenko have reached move 40, so they are going to gain their 30 minutes. Dominguez and
Dude,
down to the final few moves.
look at that
Don't know about
positioning. So fucking troll.
They have already passed move 40 as well. They're completely equal. So let's go to Dominguez game against Vincent just to see what happens as they approach move 40. Because as we've been saying, sometimes big mistakes are made right before, and even right after the time control, but right before as you have just a few minutes on your clock to reach those.
That would have been a run killer in the fast click. 100%.
39 and 38.
Almost 2 hours in.
And also 40.
Dead.
Three really critical moves should be made there. So H5 has been played. He also take more control on the king side and more space in case if there are some checks. This pawn is useful. Is he going to go this pawn all the way to H6 if the opponent allows him?
Definitely gonna think about it because if the pawn takes on H6, then
I'm gonna go to the bathroom.
more exposed. Also, king to F2 will be a sensible decision. Just trying to bring king up the board first. Defended. So for black, even this move, push F6 because that may allow H6. It's a big question. We'll move G5. So F6, H6, G5, and now you are not very happy about this. If he moves, you lose the bishop. If the king checks, you lose the pawn. The extra pawn is the only thing that has you in front.
Robert,
I need to have 3 times, right? Yeah.
Under attack next,
So it's one and then another. That's a long time.
was played by Dominguez. He doesn't want to budge. He's okay with the pawn here. For sure. If the bishop teams up with the queen, the king will come to g3 to defend this pawn over here. So it should be a hold. And this is about to be move 40. So we'll see what Vincent's final move of the time control will be. But a move like queen e4, for example, that move is a very bad one because now I have 2 separate passed pawns and the king runs to e5. So it's possible to make a very bad blunder thinking trading queens just means a draw. Opposite colored bishop endgames, they're all drawn. No, they're not all drawn. And queen e4 would be a terrible, terrible blunder to make because white gets this past d pawn. So we'll see what the last move is. I see that the game is approaching the final seconds. These are relayed from the DGT board. And bishop d7 was made as the 40th and final move of the first time control.
Bishop d7 is the final move, and now Dominguez can play king g3 really fast, as it seems to be the only move right now, because you don't want to play g5 as it allows queen to get on h3, and then some ugly checks can start. So king to g3 can be played here by Dominguez, and then both players will take a little bit of break, I think. To think, to rest, to grab some water.
Yeah, you want to take a step away from the board because you're going to be at it for a while longer. And as you point out, okay, g4 to g6 would be a very good idea. But if you play g5, in comes queen h3 check. At the very least, you're stealing this pawn back on h5. And without that extra pawn, white has no hope to win. So it's going to be a slow build-up, if any, at all.
And Dominguez should run out from the time now on the clock we have. But guys, don't worry about that because they have reached 40 moves and they got 30 minutes increment on the clock. They say that on the board. We don't see it yet. But Robert, do you know there are some clocks where you have to hang your flag your time and then you get your increments after that.
Right. Yeah, there are clocks like that. I didn't create them, so I don't like it when that happens, but I'm used to it now. Because I see zeros like, oh, he flagged, and I look, they've already made 41 moves, and I guess it's a minute and 3 seconds. That means that Dominguez had more than 0 seconds when he made the move, but when they get down into the next time control, it will show that. But we have just one other game going on here. It's Hikaru Nakamura against Andrei Yusupenko. So let's check in on that game over here, see what's going on. Hikaru made the move pawn to h4. So Katie, he's really moving his kingside pawns forward.
It's very active. I like this f5 h pawn because it's not going to be very passive. It has to be very fast and defense really actively here. So I don't like this move h4. It stops bishop comes g5. And he's putting all the pieces on the dark squares where he feels that white is more safe.
It's just one of those moves that you can't take back, and g4 square. Are you really going to keep pushing your pawns here? Not yet, of course, because the pawn on h4 is under attack, but if the king were on h3, would you consider pushing the pawns here? It looks too ambitious. So I would play king h7. I just want to get off the back rank. I don't want to allow any checks if my queen were to leave, because if you play queen a2, there's queen e8 check and things like that. So I would play king h7 and then pass the baton back to Hikaru. Your move, what are you going to do? So what is white going to do after king h7?
Just some waiting move, I guess, like queen c5.
Yeah, you say, okay, I'll put queen d7. I'll take the file you just gave away.
Queen a5, I have skill.
But now I got my queen to d7. So that's what I really want, is to bring my queen in contact with your pawn on f5.
Oh, this says that I should have 2 times.
b5
But
is so important. King h7, I would love to get my queen to d7 and go for this pawn. Actually, Andre played queen a2. in this position. He's not worried about a check on the back rank because the bishop defends f7, so the king can just safely run away. But I really wanted to somehow get my queen to d7 and go for this pawn, so I was just going to pass the turn back to you and see what happens, and I could always play queen a2 later.
But Robert here, he threats bishop d4. Bishop d4 and queen d2.
That's right. Bishop d4 removes the guard. So let's say you're playing queen d7. That's a good example. Bishop takes d4. As you're pointing out, if the bishop takes, the knight goes down with check, and you lose the bishop next. So bishop takes d4 is a big threat. So I think Hikaru will play queen c5, defending this pawn, keeping the pressure on this bishop on d5. And again, what Andre has to do is just kind of wait and see where Hikaru gets pieces, and then maybe try to strike at the right moment. But it looks like a position where white is holding on. Black will try to create threats, but really the only pawn that stands out is that pawn f5. It's very hard to get to. Black queen sneaks away. We saw before into d7.
Good point. So this game is not done yet in walk a little bit to free themselves from the stress and think long here. That can take a couple more minutes. So we are going to take a break. You guys stay with us. We will be back soon.
Welcome to the World Rapid Championships from Warsaw, Poland. We're about to get going. Magnus now forcing the king closer. Yeah, this is very, very important for the Georgian play. No, and he blunders his rook. Oh my gosh. He blunders his rook. And Magnus wins the game. And that was a lesson in just pressure. Look up. He has 3 pawns more than his opponent. Duda has won 3 in a row. He is getting off to a fantastic start. Gunina and Costenyu, 2 players with a perfect score. They're going to be facing each other. Costenyu, once again, has turned it around. And for the first time in the game, Gunina is down on the clock. Gunina is going to have to resign what initially looked like an amazing game from her. Magnus still has the threat on the pawn. There's the threat of rook f2. Magnus was actually very clever in how he just avoided the trade. And Shiro has lost on time.
So we have 3 players in first place right now in the open section.
This round, it's Alireza Firouzja and Magnus Carlsen.
I think Magnus is going to wrap this up really quickly.
Moves away from the check. Magnus maneuvering his knight to a superior position. And Alireza resigns the game. The #1 and #2 players in the world right now. Magnus Carlsen coming out there victorious, needing a win here. He is so Magnus is simply retreating the king 1 step back. There's no stopping him from getting a queen on the next move. He's gonna win it, and he's gonna take the lead in this tournament. Carlsen playing against the youngster from Uzbekistan.
Torov has some really strong players in this tournament, and that makes me kind of optimistic about his chances against Magnus here.
And Magnus now is going to give up another pawn. Wow, look at this. For the second time, Magnus is giving up pawns in order to just get rid of
French speaking.
check coming in here from
Oh my God.
And Magnus resigns. Abdus Santoro takes the lead after a win against the reigning champion. Carlsen will have the opportunity to strike back with the white pieces against Nepomniachtchi.
Magnus is probably regretting this night time. Now he's definitely forced to play wrong.
He's not going to be catching Jan Nepomniachtchi.
That was clearly a very disappointing game.
Oh yeah, the run.
Big matchup of this
Let me do that.
if Costenyu makes the draw. She will be crowned Earl.
Holy shit, Cetera's going. I verified them earlier today. There's already 30.
Of Black's problems.
I can hear your mouse wheel, so that's gonna be a verified for me. Trusted runner, so there's no need to check much. Keeps on rolling. Got the mouse run. Check the final time. 14:10 on the clock.
This is a bad run, but you know, GG.
That only the two players with the best tiebreak score will be allowed to play the playoff. Third place, then the bronze medal.
GG.
It is up to Satura.
That's easy rounds to verify.
Jan Nepomniachtchi of Russia. And Black's team does manage to get back to defend the pawn. So Jan Nepomniachtchi is steering this game towards a draw. And that means Norderbeck is going to have to match ball with the white piece in the next one. Nepomniachtchi getting rid of that last black pawn. Norderbeck getting rid of...
Just to tell you the level of what's happening in Cookie Clicker. Where if I can't find anything in this mess, it's not alphabetical, nothing. Run I verified today. Wait. Where the fuck? That's not the run I verified. Was it rejected? No. I have no idea. So it's gonna be time machine, and then I have to buy back the portal and 2 alchemies, and then a mine and a farm. Wait, farm or factory? Farm. Wait, what? Oh my god, I have 1 extra portal. No. I messed up the splits. RIP.
Last 2 games, 6 draws already, and this looks very good chance for the players.
Oh no, 17. That's
Dominguez versus recent gamer. Dominguez has
seems to be correct.
the other game, Nakamura versus Esipenko.
Did I just lose all my time because
Trying to get some of the white's weaknesses. Robert, do you think there is any real threats here in
what?
these games that Wesley can score points?
No, but did you know that Hikaru was banned on Twitch? Did you know that?
Do you know how I knew it?
how'd you know?
During our commentary yesterday, we had a lot of people coming to our chats, and that's how I sensed that something was wrong.
So you're saying that people only want to talk about Hikaru being banned. That's like their main interest when they come into chat. They're not trying to be
I think I
friendly
messed
and
up
discuss all
something
the
really,
happenings in
really
chess, but they
bad.
just want to talk about that little thing of Hikaru being banned.
Let's talk about it.
Okay.
They wanted
Well, I
to
can
keep
be
up with it.
I can be Grandmaster disrespect right here and just give the chat my true feelings about what they talk about. But I would prefer to talk about the game that we have on screen here between Lenier Dominguez and Vincent Keimer. So, Katie, you asked the question: is there any realistic chance for a win here? It seems unlikely because if you ever push g5, the queen comes to h3 with check, picking up this pawn, and the only way to set that up is like queen f3, king h4, pawn g5. It's a very slow maneuver, and if black does nothing, even if we okay, well, there's also consideration for queen f6 check, but let's say we do nothing and allow this to happen. What actually is the plan from white's point of view?
Hard to imagine here any kind of improvement. But what can do maybe is to activate the bishop, like bishop f4, bishop e5. That can be really nice. But the moment bishop leaves e3 square, black's queen can start to give some checks. Just find a way to trade the queens, like queen f5 could be possible.
Yes, trading the queens without touching this pawn will be important. And there's something that I was thinking about, and like let's say we get to this position here. Yeah, this is what I thought. So this position actually would be winning for white. So during the break, I was trying to imagine ways where black could go wrong, and this was one of them. And the reason why is, let's say we get to this position over here, I thought that white would be able to bring the king this way and take this pawn at some moment. I don't know exactly the timing of all this, but let's just let that happen. I'm going to, it's white's turn. Let's just let this happen. King goes here. The bishop. I think you need to protect your pawn over here. Where's? It's like going crazy, but I was just trying to do this and like go for this pawn. I don't want to take this pawn. I was just trying to find a way to win. It's not winning, okay, but this was what I was looking at.
I think I lost all my time because I messed up something.
And then at some point, this king will come to c6. And once the king gets to c6, because white has this second pawn, you win with b3. So this would be a draw. If you took this pawn on b2 off the board, this configuration just holds the balance over here. And I think that white would not be able to win. But with this pawn, you play b3, and now the bishop has to make a choice, and you're going to lose one of the pawns, and white's going to get a pass pawn over the game.
It's very possible to have concerns regarding this rook because h5 pawn which is hanging in many variations, you can push it on h6, trade the h pawn for g, and then also push g7 pawn. So you're gonna have this pawn on dark square.
I won extra alchemy.
With the king on the queen side and just
So something was actually messed up.
The way to go, and that's why the queen trade has to be very carefully considered.
I think I missed by a portal earlier, and
King h2, excuse me, king h4.
I don't know.
Step 2, g5, step 3, maybe g6. We'll see.
Sprite.
How he responds, but
I might have just choked the record. I mean, it's gonna probably be a record still, but it was much more ahead before. But also I made improvements to the route on the fly, so probably more improvements that can be done so the run's actually improvable for the next time. But it's gonna be a record today.
For sure. What about the other game?
So pretty cool.
Before we go there, I just thought of something.
I just hope that I get back this lead. I should be getting this lead back. But looks like not really, but maybe. We'll see on this split for sure.
Queen here. I think the reason why white is winning is not because of my far-fetched idea to win this pawn. maybe it works in some positions, but I think the simplest way to win is at this point you're going to push
no, I'm not getting any back. This is fucked up.
Because black is actually really out of options. You're just gonna move your bishop back and forth somewhere, and wherever it goes, I'm gonna take. And after king takes h6 check, the king takes a step back. This king comes to f6, and my winning plan is h7 and king f7 to win this game here. So if you play bishop h5, check, king here. Now I have king g5 attacking your bishop, and king h6 leads the mate.
Beautiful. You know what's really, really unpleasant here for black? The move like bishop g6 is not working. You might think that there's a stalemate, but after king takes g6, there is one extra pawn that black hopes that doesn't exist.
Yeah, no, I should have split it now. I definitely messed up a portal that I should have bought earlier. That costed a lot of time.
Move away with this king to g6 and h7 pawn and just promote a pawn to the queen, and this is simply losing position for black.
That's right. So in this sort of variation, I think that's the winning plan, and there's no way to stop it. It's just forced.
Fantastico!
No
Perfetto!
Ends up for black. That after king f6, the idea is h7 check and king f7. If you play a5 early, I just take it and promote that pawn. And if you do, I don't know what else you can even think about doing. This check, then king f7. You need to remove this pawn from the board. Like that pawn needs to go away so you can try to check over here. The pawn exists, which means g7 and g8 equals queen will win the game.
Yeah, I'm thinking this is the way how you can lose with black. You might not see this sacrifice happening, and you can trade your queens and find yourself into this endgame, and it's just game over. You can really stop white coming on e5 with the bishop and then sacrificing g7.
And it's something that's actually pretty easy to miss. Assume it's going to be a draw.
Nice.
Fantastico, perfetto.
Try to go this way, the bishop will be able to take it. So I think that it's not going to happen, but I could.
10 out of 10, perfect Italian.
Oh, it's going to be a draw. I got this, and it actually just lost.
No, he actually nailed it.
Brilliant pawn here. This is nice pattern here. Do you think Dominguez can see that from this perspective and just go into that direction to trade queens and just push the pawn all the way to g6?
Yeah, no, he's just king h4, g5, g6. That's his next idea.
What is happening? Why am I losing time?
White and black, I think, is just going to keep shuffling because it's looking not super pleasant. But at this point, if I keep going, you play g6, and I go back, what is white going to do? I'm just going to go back and forth. And so your turn. Show me how you win.
I think the splits are messed up. I don't know.
All of a sudden, it's black who wins the game because the king on h4 is
What?
not safe, and it's checkmate.
I'm missing something.
Very unlikely to happen, but still, it's on the board.
Okay, well, now that we've exhausted the options in this game, plenty of the ideas, we can go to that game between Hikaru and Andre. They're still fighting it out, so reminder to everybody, 6 draws have already been made in this round. So 2 games are remaining, and the games are looking like we might see all 8 games with the point split between players.
Yeah, that's right. So in the game of Hikaru and Esiplenko, we do have here Esiplenko.
What am I missing? Dude, what the fuck is happening?
Well, it's not forced. King G1 isn't explicitly forced, but if you play queen c5, then this queen b7, queen d7 idea exists. So white does need to be very careful, and that's why Hikaru is wisely leaving the queen on b5 and plays king g1, because the queen can't leave the defense of the bishop, and the queen on b5 covers this d7 square, which is the square that protects the bishop on d5 and attacks the pawn on f5. So without that, maybe Andre will play bishop c6 and maybe bishop d7, queen c8 kind of stuff, but Hikaru's really holding everything together for now.
What the fuck? The splitter completely messed up, I think.
Black can get the bishop and the queen on this diagonal and try to create some mating threats on the left.
Yeah, if you could throw this pawn off the board, you'd be very happy, but it's hard to do that. It's not letting you take the pawn off of e4. But if you, in this position, right, if you play queen d5, now black has queen d7, so you're actually inching closer and closer to the setup that you want. So I really like the look of bishop c6, because if white plays, instead of queen c5, plays queen b6, then black plays queen c8, and you are making a bit of progress here. After queen to c5, you can play queen b7 or queen
Maybe I'm gonna get back everything here, because the splits were completely messed up actually, but in the good way, like in the way that I'm doing good, because you can see there the split is 2-9-40. I think I'm gonna do that much earlier. Oh, dude, I thought I was dying. Instead, I'm gaining time. Wow, I'm gonna be so much ahead now. Look at this.
Yeah, the thing is, he can just kind of move wherever he wants to.
50 seconds ahead. Look at this, 45.
Fantastico!
Boom.
Perfetto!
GG. Holy what? You can't see anything.
White is very stuck, and black can first play bishop c6, try to get this queen.
How? You can't see everything.
And just make slow but steady progress. That's the aim, at least, for black. So the engines are saying -1.3, -1, about a little -1 for black, and it's in most lines.
Okay. Sorry if you couldn't. Weird. But yeah, that was the last round that I did. I split completely wrong, so I was actually gaining time instead of losing. Oh, Pixels, okay. I'm local recording anyway, so it's not a problem. So the strat actually worked. It was the split that were messed up.
This isn't the World Chess Championship. Hikaru plenty of time today. Yesterday against Levon, of course, Hikaru down to his final minute. So just a reminder to everybody of the results so far in the group. Levon, he has drawn his second game, but he won his first one over Hikaru. So as we look at this cross table, most players have completed their second round. Any names surprising to you here and how they're doing? He's one of the players that get overlooked, but he's nearly 2,700. Very, very strong player. In fact, he almost took down the Grand Swiss. He drew Fabiano in the last round, and if he was able to beat Fabiano, I believe he would have been able to take that second pin spot for Fabiano at the white pieces. The game was solid. It was Kratky had a great performance.
GG. Thanks for watching. See you.
Result here so far is by Bitugov, who is leading the group with 1.5 points, and he's ahead of Giri